Shalom, my friends. I'm Rabbi David, and today I'm going to reveal a Torah secret so powerful that when you apply it correctly, every obstacle in your path will dissolve. Every barrier blocking your success will crumble. Every wall standing between you and your dreams will fall. And by the end of this video, you will have the exact spiritual technology to remove any obstacle, overcome any challenge, and break through to the abundance that's been waiting for you. But before I give you this secret, I need to ask you something. Drop a comment below and tell me, what is the biggest obstacle standing between you and your financial breakthrough right now? Is it debt? Is it fear? Is it a difficult situation at work? Is it a lack of opportunity? Tell me in the comments, because I want to know what you're facing. Now, before we dive deep into this teaching, I need your help with something important. I'm on a mission to reach 50,000 subscribers so I can spread this timeless wisdom about wealth, faith, and legacy to even more people. If you believe this wisdom deserves to be shared, if you believe these ancient secrets can transform lives, then please hit that subscribe button right now and join this growing community of modern thinkers and future millionaires. And if you want to go deeper, if you're serious about transformation, become a channel member. You'll get exclusive content that I don't share publicly, early access to every video, and inner circle teachings reserved for those who are truly committed. The link is right below this video. All right, let's get into it. Let me tell you something that might shock you. The obstacles in your life are not what you think they are. They're not external forces. They're not bad luck. They're not the economy, your boss, your circumstances, or your past. The obstacles in your life are internal. They're spiritual. They're energetic. And they exist because of one thing and one thing only: your consciousness. I know that sounds impossible. You're thinking, Rabbi, I have real obstacles. I have real debt. I have real problems. How can you say they're just in my consciousness? Listen closely. I'm not saying your problems aren't real. I'm saying the reason they exist, the reason they persist, the reason they keep showing up in your life is because of the way you're thinking, the way you're believing, the way you're vibrating. Let me explain with a story from the Torah that will blow your mind. In the book of Numbers, Moses sends 12 spies into the promised land. God has already promised this land to the Israelites. He's already said, "This is yours. I'm giving it to you. Go and take it." So Moses sends 12 leaders, one from each tribe, to scout the land and come back with a report. They go, they explore, they see the land, and it's everything God promised. It's flowing with milk and honey. It's abundant. It's fertile. It's beautiful. They even bring back massive clusters of grapes, so large it takes 2 men to carry them. But here's what happens. 10 of the 12 spies come back with a terrifying report. They say, yes, the land is good, but there are giants there. There are fortified cities. There are obstacles we cannot overcome. We looked like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and that's how we looked to them. Notice what they said. We looked like grasshoppers in our own eyes, not in the giants' eyes, in their own eyes. They saw themselves as small, weak, powerless, and because they saw themselves that way, they became that way. But 2 spies, Joshua and Caleb, came back with a different report. They said, yes, there are giants. Yes, there are fortified cities, but we can absolutely conquer them. The land is ours. God has given it to us. Let's go up and take it. Same land, same giants, same obstacles, but completely different perception, completely different consciousness. completely different outcome. The 10 spies saw obstacles. Joshua and Caleb saw opportunities. The 10 spies saw themselves as grasshoppers. Joshua and Caleb saw themselves as conquerors. The 10 spies focused on what they lacked. Joshua and Caleb focused on what God promised. And here's the result. The 10 spies, and everyone who believed their report, died in the wilderness. They never entered the promised land. They never experienced the abundance. They never overcame the obstacles. But Joshua and Caleb, 40 years later, walked into the promised land and conquered it. Same obstacles, different consciousness, different outcome. This is the secret. This is the key. This is what I'm going to teach you today. Your obstacles are not the problem. Your consciousness about your obstacles is the problem. And when you shift your consciousness, when you change how you see yourself, when you align with God's promise instead of your fear, the obstacles dissolve. Let me tell you about my own experience with this principle. About 7 years ago, I was facing the biggest obstacle of my life. I had built a successful accounting practice, but I wanted to expand. I wanted to scale. I wanted to take it to the next level. But every time I tried, I hit a wall. I couldn't find the right partners. I couldn't secure the funding. I couldn't break through the ceiling. I prayed. I worked harder. I strategized. But nothing changed. The obstacle remained. And I was frustrated, exhausted, ready to give up. Then, one night, I was studying this exact passage in Numbers, the story of the 12 spies, and something clicked. I realized I was seeing myself as a grasshopper. I was focusing on the giants. I was identifying with the obstacle instead of the promise. So I made a decision. I'm going to shift my consciousness. I'm going to see myself the way God sees me. I'm going to focus on the promise, not the problem. That very night, I wrote down a declaration. I am blessed and highly favored. I am a conqueror, not a grasshopper. God has given me this vision, and I will walk into it. Every obstacle is an opportunity. Every giant is already defeated. I said this declaration every morning for 30 days, and I acted from that consciousness. I made calls I was afraid to make. I had conversations I was avoiding. I took steps I thought were impossible. And within 60 days, everything shifted. A partner I had been trying to reach for months suddenly called me. An investor I didn't even know existed reached out. Doors that were closed flew open. And within 6 months, my business had tripled. The obstacles didn't disappear because I worked harder. They disappeared because I shifted my consciousness. I stopped seeing myself as a grasshopper and started seeing myself as a conqueror. Now, let me give you the exact framework for removing obstacles from your life. I call it the conqueror's consciousness, and it has 5 components. Each one is critical. Each one is rooted in Torah wisdom. Each one will shift how you see yourself and your obstacles. Component number 1. Identify the obstacle clearly. You cannot overcome what you cannot name. You cannot conquer what you refuse to acknowledge. So the first step is to get clear. What is the obstacle? Not vague, not general, specific. Is it a specific amount of debt? Name the number. Is it a difficult relationship? Name the person. Is it a lack of opportunity? Name the field. Is it fear? Name what you're afraid of. Write it down. Look at it. Acknowledge it. This is the obstacle standing between me and my breakthrough. In Proverbs 29, verse 18, it says, "Where there is no vision, the people perish." Vision requires clarity. You cannot have a vision for overcoming an obstacle if you don't clearly see what the obstacle is. So write it down. This is my obstacle. This is what I'm facing. This is what I'm going to overcome. Component number 2. Separate the obstacle from your identity. This is critical. The obstacle is not who you are. The obstacle is what you're facing. You are not your debt. You are not your fear. You are not your circumstance. You are a child of God facing a temporary challenge. The 10 spies said, "We are grasshoppers." They made the obstacle their identity. But Joshua and Caleb said, "We are conquerors facing giants." They kept their identity separate from the obstacle. So declare this out loud. I am not this obstacle. I am not this debt. I am not this fear. I am not this struggle. I am blessed. I am favored. I am powerful. I am a conqueror. And this obstacle is temporary. This is not positive thinking. This is identity protection. This is making sure the obstacle doesn't define you. Component number 3. Reframe the obstacle as an opportunity. Every obstacle is an opportunity in disguise. Every giant is a chance to prove God's power. Every challenge is a doorway to the next level. In the Talmud, there's a teaching that says, according to the difficulty is the reward. The bigger the obstacle, the bigger the breakthrough. The harder the challenge, the greater the transformation. So, instead of saying, "Why is this happening to me?" say, "What is this teaching me?" Instead of saying, "This is impossible," say, "This is my opportunity to grow." Instead of saying, "I can't overcome this," say, "God is preparing me for something greater." Reframe the obstacle. See it differently, not as a wall, but as a door, not as a barrier, but as a bridge, not as a problem, but as a promotion. Component number 4. Declare God's promise over the obstacle. God has already promised you abundance. He's already promised you provision. He's already promised you victory. So declare that promise over your obstacle. This is what Joshua and Caleb did. They didn't deny the giants, they acknowledged them. But then they declared God's promise. The land is ours. God has given it to us. We will conquer it. So find a scripture, a promise, a declaration that speaks to your obstacle, and say it out loud every day. If your obstacle is debt, declare, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." If your obstacle is fear, declare, God has not given me a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. If your obstacle is lack of opportunity, declare, the Lord will open doors no man can shut. Speak the promise. Declare it. Let it replace the fear, the doubt, the grasshopper consciousness. Component number 5. Take one action from conqueror consciousness. Faith without action is dead. Consciousness without movement is useless. So after you've identified the obstacle, separated it from your identity, reframed it as an opportunity, and declared God's promise, you must take action. But not just any action. Action from conqueror consciousness, not from fear, not from desperation, not from grasshopper mentality, from faith, from power, from the belief that the obstacle is already defeated. What's one thing you've been afraid to do? What's one conversation you've been avoiding? What's one step you've been putting off? Do it. Today. This week. Take the action. And watch what happens. Watch how the obstacle starts to crumble. Watch how doors start to open. Watch how the giants start to fall. Now let me tell you 3 stories of people who used this framework and removed massive obstacles from their lives. Story number 1. Michael. Michael was drowning in debt, over $150,000. Credit cards, student loans, business loans, he felt like he was suffocating. Every month the debt grew, every month the obstacle got bigger. He prayed, but nothing changed. Then he learned this framework. He identified the obstacle clearly, $150,000 in debt. He separated it from his identity. I am not my debt. I am blessed and favored. He reframed it as an opportunity. This is teaching me discipline, strategy, and faith. He declared God's promise. The Lord will provide. He will make a way. And he took action from conqueror consciousness. He called his creditors and negotiated. He started a side business. He cut expenses ruthlessly. Within 1 year, he had paid off $50,000. Within 2 years, he was completely debt-free. Within 3 years, he had $100,000 in savings. The obstacle that felt impossible dissolved because he shifted his consciousness. Story number 2. Rachel. Rachel was stuck in a toxic work environment. Her boss was abusive. Her co-workers were negative. She felt trapped because she needed the income. Every day was misery. Every morning she dreaded going to work. She prayed for a new job, but nothing came. Then she applied this framework. She identified the obstacle. Toxic work environment. She separated it from her identity. I am not this job. I am valuable, talented, and worthy of respect. She reframed it as an opportunity. This is pushing me to find something better. She declared God's promise. The Lord will open doors for me. And she took action from conqueror consciousness. She updated her resume. She reached out to her network. She applied for positions she thought were out of reach. Within 2 months, she got 3 job offers. Within 3 months, she was in a new position with a 40% raise and a healthy work culture. The obstacle that felt permanent dissolved because she shifted her consciousness. Story number 3. David. David wanted to start a business, but he had no capital, no connections, and no experience. The obstacles felt insurmountable. He had the idea, the passion, the vision, but no path forward. He prayed, but the obstacles remained. Then he learned this framework. He identified the obstacles clearly. No capital, no connections, no experience. He separated them from his identity. I am not my lack. I am resourceful, creative, and blessed. He reframed them as opportunities. This will force me to be innovative and build relationships. He declared God's promise. God will provide everything I need. And he took action from conqueror consciousness. He started small. He leveraged free tools. He reached out to strangers. He offered value before asking for anything. Within 6 months, he had his first paying client. Within 1 year, his business was generating $10,000 a month. Within 2 years, he had a team of 5 and was doing multiple 6 figures. The obstacles that felt impossible dissolved, because he shifted his consciousness. Do you see the pattern? The obstacles were real, the challenges were real. But when they shifted their consciousness, when they stopped seeing themselves as grasshoppers and started seeing themselves as conquerors, the obstacles dissolved. Now let me address the objection I know you're thinking. Rabbi, this sounds like I'm just ignoring reality, like I'm pretending the obstacles don't exist. No, you're not ignoring reality. You're changing your relationship with reality. You're not denying the obstacle. You're refusing to let the obstacle define you. You're not pretending it's not there. You're declaring that it's temporary and conquerable. There's a huge difference between denial and faith. Denial says there's no problem. Faith says there's a problem, but God is bigger. Denial ignores the obstacle. Faith confronts the obstacle with confidence. Joshua and Caleb didn't deny the giants. They said, yes, there are giants, but we can absolutely conquer them. That's not denial. That's faith. That's conqueror consciousness. So don't ignore your obstacles. Acknowledge them, name them, look at them, and then declare, you are temporary, you are conquerable, you are not bigger than God, you are not bigger than me, and I am walking through you into my promised land. Now, let me give you the 3 spiritual laws that make this framework so powerful. Law number 1, the law of perception. You don't see the world as it is. You see the world as you are. If you see yourself as a grasshopper, you'll see giants everywhere. If you see yourself as a conqueror, you'll see opportunities everywhere. In the Talmud it says, we do not see things as they are, we see things as we are. Your perception is your reality, and when you change your perception, you change your reality. So the question is not, what obstacles are in my path? The question is, how am I seeing myself? Am I a grasshopper or a conqueror? Because that perception will determine everything. Law number 2, the law of focus. Where your attention goes, energy flows. If you focus on the obstacle, you feed it. If you focus on the promise, you activate it. In Proverbs 4:25 it says, let your eyes look straight ahead. Fix your gaze directly before you. Don't look at the obstacle. Look at the destination. Don't focus on the giant. Focus on the promise. The 10 spies focused on the giants and became paralyzed. Joshua and Caleb focused on the promise and became empowered. Same situation, different focus, different outcome. So, choose your focus carefully. What are you looking at? What are you thinking about? What are you talking about? Because that focus is creating your future. Law number 3, the law of alignment. You cannot overcome an obstacle from the same consciousness that created it. You have to elevate, you have to shift, you have to align with a higher frequency. In Kabbalah, there's a principle called devekut, which means clinging to God. It's about aligning your consciousness with God's consciousness. And when you do that, when you see yourself the way God sees you, when you believe what God believes about you, the obstacles lose their power. God doesn't see you as a grasshopper. He sees you as a conqueror. God doesn't see obstacles. He sees opportunities. God doesn't see lack. He sees abundance. So align with that. Cling to that. Let that be your consciousness. Now, here's my challenge to you. For the next 7 days, I want you to apply the Conqueror's Consciousness framework to one specific obstacle in your life. Day 1. Identify the obstacle clearly. Write it down. Name it. Acknowledge it. Day 2. Separate the obstacle from your identity. Declare out loud, I am not this obstacle. I am blessed, favored, and powerful. Day 3. Reframe the obstacle as an opportunity. Ask yourself, what is this teaching me? How is this preparing me for my next level? Day 4. Find a scripture or promise that speaks to your obstacle. Write it down. Memorize it. Day 5. Declare that promise out loud every morning and every night. Day 6. Take one action from Conqueror Consciousness. Do the thing you've been afraid to do. Day 7. Reflect. Journal. Notice what shifted. Notice what changed. Notice how the obstacle looks different. And after 7 days, come back to this video and leave a comment. Tell me what happened. Tell me what shifted. Tell me what you overcame. Because I promise you, if you do this framework correctly, if you truly shift your consciousness, something will change. Not because the framework is magic, but because you will become a different person. A person who sees themselves as a conqueror. A person who focuses on the promise, not the problem. A person who aligns with God's consciousness, not the grasshopper mentality. In the comments below, tell me, what is the one obstacle you're going to apply this framework to? And if this video gave you a powerful tool for removing obstacles and stepping into your promised land, subscribe to this channel. Next week, I'm going to teach you the ancient prayer that activates divine favor and opens doors no man can shut. Remember, the obstacles in your life are not permanent. They're not more powerful than you. They're not bigger than God. They're temporary tests designed to reveal who you really are. And when you see yourself as a conqueror, when you focus on the promise, when you align with God's consciousness, every obstacle will dissolve, every barrier will crumble, and every wall will fall. Shalom. And may you be blessed with the courage to see yourself as God sees you, and the faith to walk through every obstacle into your promised land. But before you go, I need to address something critical, something that will determine whether this framework works for you or not. The biggest mistake people make when trying to overcome obstacles is they try to do it alone. They think, I have to figure this out myself. I have to be strong enough. I have to be smart enough. I have to be capable enough. And that's the grasshopper mentality speaking. Listen closely. You were never meant to overcome obstacles alone. You were never meant to conquer giants by yourself. You were never meant to walk into your promised land without support, without community, without divine partnership. In the Torah, when Joshua finally leads the Israelites into the promised land, God doesn't say, Joshua, you're strong enough, go do it yourself. God says, I will be with you. I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. Be strong and courageous, because I am with you. Partnership. Divine partnership. That's the secret. And here's what that means practically. When you're facing an obstacle, you need three things. You need God's wisdom. You need community support. And you need your own action. All three. Not just one, not just two. All three. God's wisdom comes through prayer, through scripture, through studying the Torah. You ask God, what do you want me to learn from this? How do you want me to grow? What's the path forward? And you listen, you wait, you receive. Community support comes through relationships. You don't isolate, you don't hide, you don't pretend everything is fine. You reach out, you ask for help, you let people speak wisdom into your life, you let people pray for you, you let people encourage you. And your own action comes through obedience. You do what God tells you to do. You take the steps He reveals. You move forward even when you're afraid. You act from faith, not from fear. All three working together. That's how obstacles are removed. That's how giants fall. That's how you walk into your promised land. Let me tell you one more story. A story that brings all of this together. About 5 years ago, I was mentoring a young man named Joshua. Yes, his name was actually Joshua, which I thought was fitting. Joshua had a dream to start a non-profit organization to help at-risk youth. He had the vision, he had the passion, he had the calling. But he had massive obstacles. He had no funding. He had no board members. He had no non-profit experience. He had no building. He had no staff. And every time he tried to move forward, he hit a wall. Doors closed. People said no. Resources dried up. He came to me discouraged. Rabbi, I know God called me to this. I know this is my promised land. But I can't get past these obstacles. What am I doing wrong? I asked him, how are you seeing yourself? He said, honestly, I feel like a grasshopper. I feel small. I feel inadequate. I feel like everyone else knows more than me, has more than me, is more capable than me. I said, there's your problem. You're in grasshopper consciousness, and as long as you stay there, the obstacles will remain. So, we applied the framework together. We identified the obstacles clearly. No funding, no board, no experience, no building, no staff. We separated them from his identity. You are not your lack. You are called, anointed, and equipped by God. We reframed them as opportunities. Each obstacle is teaching you to trust God, to build relationships, to be resourceful. we found God's promise. In Isaiah, it says, "I am the Lord your God who teaches you to profit, who leads you by the way you should go." We declared that promise every day for 30 days. And then we took action from conqueror consciousness. Joshua reached out to business leaders in the community. He shared his vision with boldness, not from desperation, but from confidence. He started small, serving youth in his own living room. He asked for help. He built a team of volunteers. He applied for grants. He knocked on doors. And here's what happened. Within 3 months, a local businessman heard about his vision and donated $50,000 to get started. Within 6 months, he had a board of 7 successful community leaders. Within 1 year, he had a building donated, rent-free. Within 2 years, his nonprofit was serving over 200 youth and had a budget of $500,000. Every single obstacle dissolved. Not because Joshua was special, not because he had some secret advantage, but because he shifted his consciousness. He stopped seeing himself as a grasshopper and started seeing himself as a conqueror. He stopped focusing on the obstacles and started focusing on the promise. He stopped trying to do it alone and started partnering with God and community. That's the power of this framework. That's the power of conqueror consciousness. That's the power of seeing yourself the way God sees you. So let me ask you again. What obstacle are you facing right now? What giant is standing in your path? What wall is blocking your breakthrough? And more importantly, how are you seeing yourself? Are you a grasshopper or a conqueror? Are you focusing on the obstacle or the promise? Are you trying to do it alone or are you partnering with God? Because here's the truth. The obstacle is not the problem. Your consciousness about the obstacle is the problem. And when you shift that consciousness, when you elevate your perception, when you align with God's truth about who you are, the obstacle will dissolve. It might not happen overnight. It might take 7 days. It might take 30 days. It might take a year. But it will happen. Because God's promises are yes and amen. Because you are not a grasshopper. Because you are blessed, favored, and powerful. Because every obstacle is temporary, and every giant is already defeated. So take this framework, apply it, live it, walk in it, and watch what God does. Watch how doors open. Watch how resources appear. Watch how the impossible becomes possible. And remember, you're not alone in this journey. You're part of a community of 50,000 people who are applying these ancient Torah secrets to modern life, who are seeing themselves as conquerors, who are removing obstacles and walking into their promised land. So subscribe, join the community, become a channel member, get the deeper teachings, and let's walk this journey together. Because the promised land is not just a place, it's a consciousness. It's a way of seeing yourself. It's a way of seeing God. It's a way of seeing obstacles. And when you shift that consciousness, when you step into conqueror mentality, when you align with divine truth, you don't just overcome one obstacle. You develop the ability to overcome every obstacle for the rest of your life. That's the real secret. That's the real breakthrough. That's the real promised land. Shalom, my friends, and may you be blessed with eyes to see yourself as God sees you, faith to believe what God says about you, and courage to walk through every obstacle into the abundant life He has prepared for you.